It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast as we track the Australian property market for you 7 days a week. And of course, we're the biggest real estate podcast in Australia. Over 1,000 episodes for you to check out, especially if you are a new listener, as we talk to all of the main players with their insights, predictions, just to get a sense of what the property market is acting like and behaving across 2025. You can stream us at any time on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. It is a Saturday morning. Another weekend is here, February the 8th. And I see the New South Wales government is reviewing off-the-plan contract laws with major changes potentially on the horizon. And a key focus is protecting buyers from prolonged delays that leave them in limbo, which is a growing issue since the last reforms took place back in 2019. The review also explores removing restrictive land covenants to boost development opportunities by increasing consumer confidence and freeing up land. Could these changes reshape New South Wales real estate? We will watch that with a lot of interest. But right now, let's head up to Queensland and to Scott Mitchell from Mitchell's Real Estate in Hervey Bay. And good morning to you, Scott. First time that we're talking in 2025 about your beloved Hervey Bay there. How was your break and the property interest that developed at the start of 2025 going for you?
Yeah, g'day Craig, and Happy New Year, mate. It's been a bit of a boom. I didn't really get a break. Within the first week of the new year, we'd already written 7 contracts worth over $5.5 million in total value. So there was plenty of buyers actively purchasing in our market straight after Christmas.
Yeah, well, unfortunately no break, but it sounds like the market is pretty hot at the moment, and Queensland and South Australia, I do note, is tied for second in the CommSec State of States report, with South Australia standing out as the national leader in economic growth. Now, that is up by 8.4% if you're in South Australia this morning. Now, these two states are continuing to attract strong investment interest, reinforcing their position as economic powerhouses in 2025, which sort of goes back to the interest that you're talking about at the start of this year for you where you are.
It's just been steady. If you went back through our previous podcast, you'll just see my consistent optimism. Even the Heron Todd White have had us in their national property clock in a rising market. We sort of middle of last year, we follow that. That's a really good national barometer of where every region or every area in Australia is tracking, as per Heron Todd White being one of the largest valuers in the country. They have the property clock, and it'll show you where they think each region is sitting. They had Hervey Bay at the peak of market early last year, but by the middle of the year, they dropped us back into a rising market cycle again, and we've just seen that consistently flow through the last nearly 4 months now. We're still holding in a rising market in December, and we expect that to continue into this year, given the really strong buyer demand we've seen so far this year.
Yes, that was sort of quite surprising to see that it go back up onto the rise, because there was this feeling that you were going to stabilise, but you did say that there was still more gas in the tank. So stabilising, the market did see that surge that you're talking about. And I want to talk about Hervey Bay's vacant land prices. Now, they have surged. If you look at the standard 600 square metres, those lots are jumping all over the place.
It's been the same trend all the way through. So since COVID, Hervey Bay and the Fraser Coast, we were certainly undervalued. We were really discovered through that COVID period when we saw that mass migration into Queensland specifically, and also up here in Hervey Bay. You could buy, pre-COVID, you could buy a block of dirt in Hervey Bay, and they were sometimes hard to sell for $120,000 to $150,000. Now, you can't buy a vacant block of land for under about $250,000, and most are going between $275,000 and $300,000, and there's a wait wait list. And some of these new estates that are being developed, they're waiting up to 12 months to get titles. So there's a wait list to even get a title-ready, build-ready, vacant block of land.
That's really pushing overall property values higher, and the house and land market, it's very, very active, as you've been saying all along, with the construction costs. Are they stabilising? Because I think that there's sort of some chatter that the stabilising costs have sort of levelled out a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah, certainly build costs and builders are now sort of on top of their demand. So middle of last year, if you'd asked a lot of the builders, when could we start building and then have a finished, completed home, it would have been 12 to 18 months in some instances. But now you can certainly do a brand new build with most of the project builders in under 12 months. Some are even suggesting up to 7-8 months. So that has definitely come back. And building costs, like material costs, appear to have also leveled out in most instances. So we haven't seen a jump in the cost to build a new home, but it's certainly still dearer than it was pre-COVID.
Now, Hervey Bay's rental market, that does remain highly competitive, very tight supply. You've talked about that before. Strong demand, which is driving up the prices. A new 4-bedroom home now rents between what? Tell us a little bit about the 4-bedroom and what a 3-bedroom townhouse might fetch.
A brand new home, and we're seeing because of this demand, our vacancy rate's been under 1% for the last couple of years now. So it's still holding under 1% vacancy rate at the moment. So there's strong rental demand, and the cost to build a brand new, nice spec home like a 4, 2 and 2 is sitting around the $625 to $650 range. And you can expect that property to rent back immediately between $620 and $640 a week.
All right, so that's the way the rental market is looking. When we come back, we will look at the luxury property market in Hervey Bay and what that tells us in February. We'll do that next.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week.
And the buyer's fatigue that you were talking about earlier, how much of that FOMO has crept back into your market, particularly probably over the last 6 to 8 months?
If we look at the GFC, just before that, when we had the boom in WA, that was all driven by FOMO. The last boom we had in Perth was 100% driven by FOMO. There was nothing propping up the demand and the hype. It was all media. It was all, oh my gosh, we're going to miss out. This is genuinely being driven by not having a roof over my head, not really by a fear of missing out. There is a small percentage of buyers who are wanting to buy and get into the market now because they can see that the market is going to strengthen.
We don't just report on real estate news, we take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate.
And it is a Real Estate Saturday. I hope you've got a fantastic weekend lined up. If you are looking at properties, good luck with that wherever you might be. We are in Hervey Bay on the Fraser Coast for the very first time in 2025, talking to Scott Mitchell. And Scott, want to talk about the luxury property market there in Hervey Bay. They have surged, and I know that you were talking about this late last year, but it's been reported 56 homes under 2,000 square metres selling for over $1 million. Tell us about this market.
Yeah, that certainly has shifted. Like pre-COVID, you could count the total volume of $1 million plus transactions in the whole Hervey Bay market on one hand. To see that figure of in excess of 50, and they're on the smaller allotments as well, shows you how that prestige market has certainly improved. And that is, again, comes back to that. We've been undervalued forever. Given our location, lifestyle, the natural assets of our region, the fact that you can buy a beach beachfront or esplanade front property between a quarter acre, like 1,012 square metres, up to half an acre, with a beautiful custom-built home on it for still under 1.2 to 1.4 million, makes this highly attractive if you look at any of the markets to the south of us through the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. So we're still in the current market, really affordable for pristine properties in fantastic waterfront locations, and I still see there's plenty of growth potential for our market in that area as well.
Yeah, and just on that, I see that Darwin Beach. Now, if you look at that particular beach area, homes there are now fetching 2.3 million. That is up from 850 back in 2018.
Yeah, 850 would have been cheap at any stage out in that neck of the woods there. There's a little pocket out in Darwin Beach called Darwin, and they are small, like 800 square metre allotments. But any solid quality home on a half an acre is the average size out there. And just for our viewers to understand, there's no sewerage out in that area. So they're all running on septic systems, and that's why the minimum land size really is half an acre or 2,000 square metres. And there's some lovely acreages there too, like between 1 and 2 acres out in Darwin Beach and Craignish. And that beach is it's a secluded beach, really only 10 minutes north of Hervey Bay's thriving CBD, where we've got now in excess of 100,000 people within our postcode now. But you can go for a walk on Darwin Beach any afternoon, take the dog down. It's a pet-friendly beach, and you'll see half a dozen people. It is a unique location, Darwin Beach, in that regard. A lot of people, again, that are not familiar with it, sometimes they look at it and they go, oh, it looks like a bit of a mud flat out there at low tide. And it's because we had a big tide range, and it's hard sand. It's sometimes got a little bit of sediment on it, but you can comfortably walk out half a kilometre on Darwin Beach on a big low tide, and the fishing's pretty good there as well, Craig. Plenty of whiting, flathead and bream, as I would take note of.
Yes, you love your fishing. And just on the Christmas break, New Year, you were saying just how busy you were. Just give us a sense of the flavour. Of course, all these people, it's the high tide, if you like, of people coming in at that Christmas, New Year period. Just what was the sort of the vibe in terms of people looking at property, and how many of those interstaters have you been talking to?
The trend is continuing that a lot of people, obviously Christmas time, they come to visit friends and family for Christmas, and they've sold because the markets externally to us have all been busy leading up to Christmas as well. And that trend of the majority of our purchases in Hervey Bay have sold elsewhere, and they're subject to their settlement is the most common scenario. So they've already got a contract on their property. Ideally, we want that contract unconditional, and their purchase here will be dependent on their settlement from wherever they're coming from. And that's still mostly out of that Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Brisbane to a lesser degree, but it's been a strong market as well in Brisbane. So the majority of the interstate buyers, whilst we get some coming directly from interstate into Hervey Bay, the majority, I think, still want that more cosmopolitan lifestyle that we don't quite have yet, and they're purchasing into that Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast market. Those sellers are still saying that it's getting too busy down there, their prices are higher than us, and they're taking that opportunity to grab that money, move up here and put some money in the bank and enjoy our lifestyle.
Yeah, money in the bank, enjoy the lifestyle. Sounds pretty good on our Saturday morning. Enjoy your weekend there, Scott, and we'll talk again in a few weeks' time.
Sounds great, Craig. Great to catch up as usual.
It's the Real Estate Podcast, talking properties from 6 a.m. every day, from every corner of the Australian real estate market.
But we're also starting to see an increasing amount of inquiry now from home buyers in Perth, which is something that we're anticipating. And the vast majority of our active buyers here now are actually owner-occupiers with budgets of 1 to 2 million or more.
Yeah, and as far as Perth homeowners considering upgrading to a bigger home, or as many people call it these days, a more aspirational home or a more desirable suburb, where is the smart thinking about all of that in the current market?
What we're doing with clients who are coming to see us now is explore the option of whether they have the ability to retain their existing home and refinance into their new home as opposed to selling and then buying, just to try and maximise the outcomes on both transactions so that they can buy at today's prices on the new, more expensive home, but then hang on to the old one and rent it out for a period.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.